There is a bonkers new scam that has come to sports cards, and I'm going to try to explain it to you. Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. So, this is a wild and confusing and complicated scam. I'm going to do my best to explain it to you without any visuals here. Uh, I'm sure it's not a new scam. In fact, when I first got back into the hobby in late 2020, early 2021, I purchased something online from what I thought was a business at the time. It was a company selling something on Facebook. I purchased it through Facebook. Or no, I don't remember who I purchased it through. Mercari, maybe. The only time I ever purchased it was Mercari. Only time I ever purchased through Mercari. Didn't know what it was. It looked legitimate. And I received a tracking number. And then a few days later, it said it had been delivered. No delivery ever arrived. And in fact, the tracking number said delivered to my town in the state of Maine. So after a couple days, I think once in a while, USPS will report something as delivered, and then it doesn't actually get delivered for a couple more days. So I waited a couple days, and then I reached out to the Postal Service, and the Postal Service said, yeah, that was delivered. We can confirm. So I reached out to PayPal because I paid with PayPal through Mercari, PayPal Goods and Services, and PayPal said, yeah, this was delivered. And I said, can you check what is the address that this was delivered to? And they gave me the address of a church in my town that is not my address. And I said, it was delivered to a church. The address isn't even close to mine. And the guy said, yeah, it was delivered to a church. And I thought, I think I've been scammed. In fact, I said that to this guy at PayPal. He said he would review the case. And he called me back like an hour later and said that this seller was doing this a lot, doing the same exact thing where they're creating a tracking number in your town because they know all it says in the tracking number, or at the time, I think it still does, is tracking number to your town and state. And you need to do a lot of research, a lot of this type of thing to figure out if it was actually delivered to you or to somebody else. And it makes me wonder how many people don't ever check or never verify. And so then they're sending in a package to this church or another address in your town that is either empty or has something that won't throw up any suspicion at that location. So this one was shared on Twitter by, I think his name is Bill's Mega Investor or Mega Bills Investor, something like that. But it comes out of the Facebook group called Sports Card Scammer Tracker. And it was posted by somebody by the name of Art Vandelay Miller. No involvement here by H.E. Pennypacker or Kel Varnson, thankfully, because I would hate to find out that one of them is a scammer. So on September 25th, Art Vandelay Miller, we're just going to call him Art from here on out. We don't know his real name, reached a deal for $1,175 with somebody called Fax Sports Cards. He calls them out, FAX Sports Cards. This was for 5 cards, and Art paid using PayPal Goods and Services. He received USPS tracking information. It did not show, the next day was when it was supposed to have been dropped off. It did not show that it had been dropped off, and that was kind of his red flag number 1. Then he received a FedEx tracking information. He reached out to Fax Sports Cards, who said, oh, that's my old, had something to do with, I was a little bit confused by this, but he said it was an old tracking information and he had to switch it over, something like that. Anyway, whatever it is, red flag number 2. You now have 2 tracking numbers, but this tracking number actually showed that FedEx was in possession of the item. On September 29th, the package was marked as delivered. He went to his P.O. box, to Art's P.O. box. Art went to his post office on September 30th, and there was no delivery. In fact, the Postal Service had no record of it. So here, I'm going to stop counting the red flags. You sense there are a lot of red flags here. Art called FedEx, reported it as marked delivered, not in possession. FedEx gets on the phone with him. They ask him for his name and address, and they say, this is not where it was mailed to. Art was bummed out, but he wasn't worried because he still had paid via goods and services through PayPal. He knew the next step for him was to actually reach out to Fax Sports Cards. So he emailed, instead of reaching out to Fax Sports Cards the way that they had contacted each other originally or worked out the deal, he decided to email the email address that the PayPal he paid was attached to. So, you pay PayPal via email address. And so he just emailed that email address and said, nice try, scammer, and then asked for a refund because he knows that he has to ask for a refund before he can submit a claim. He was not expecting a response, but he received one from somebody named Joey, and he did a search for the name of the person on the email address and discovered that this Joey person had a bunch of mutual friends and was active in the hobby. And they messaged back and forth. Joey was very confused. They got on the phone and they realized what the scam was. And here's where I try to explain this to you as best as possible. So Fax Sports Cards locked in a deal to sell 5 cards to Art for $1,175. At the same time, he worked out a deal to buy sports cards from Joey for $1,175. In fact, it was a little bit less than $1,175, but Fax said, you know what? I'll just throw in an extra $30 to cover PayPal fees. And it came up to exactly $1,175. So you see where this is going here. Fax then told Joey that his business partner would send him $1,175. His business partner was unwittingly Art, who was sending him $1,175. So you've got Fax, your scammer. You've got Art, your unwitting business partner, who's sending $1,175. The $1,175 is actually going to Joey, and Joey is then mailing cards to Fax. So Art is sending money to Joey because Joey needs the money before he can ship the cards to Fax. It's a confusing, elaborate, intricate scam. So in this case, Joey receives his payment. Joey then ships to Fax. Fax receives the cards. He's got cards that he got somebody else to pay for him in this scam. Fax paid nothing. Art paid $1,175, received no cards. Joey's in the clear, seemingly, unless they come back and say, we got to take your money back from you. I don't know how that's going to work. Nobody knows yet. But it is pretty elaborate. Now, Fax there was a package sent somewhere in his town, in Art's town, similar to the one that was sent to the church in my town. Somebody somewhere in Art's town received a package that they were not expecting and probably confused them. But how do you even figure out what it's supposed to be? There's no contact info on it from the scammer. FedEx has told Art that they can't make a claim for him because he has nothing to do with the shipping. He's not on the tracking. There's nothing there. So he has to reach out to PayPal Goods and Services, and he's not even convinced that's going to work either because the item was delivered. It might not. This is, man, be careful. When there are red flags, pay attention to those red flags. When there are a lot of red flags, even one red flag should make you go, hang on a second. Another thing I didn't consider here is that the sender, which is Joey, who had the cards and mailed them to Fax, mailed them to an address that wasn't in the PayPal that Art paid him through. And so you should be sending actual packages to the address from the payer's PayPal, which he didn't do. Another thing that would have been a red flag for Joey in this case. So just to recap, Art paid Joey. Joey sent the cards to Fax. Fax has Art send the money to Joey. So now Fax has neither shipped cards nor paid, but he is receiving the cards from Joey. It's wild. Have you seen this before? You gotta be careful. Paying goods and services might not protect you in this case. I'm not sure. I will have an update. When I hear back, I will have an update. I'm hoping to find out what happened in this case. Anyway, my new podcast series, So You Want to Be a Dealer, episode 1 is live with Chris Sewell, baseball card collector, investor, dealer. In that order, it's on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. It's a 45-minute podcast. It will be on YouTube tomorrow, if you prefer to watch, on our Sports Card Clubhouse YouTube channel. It is on Sports Card Clubhouse podcast channels, wherever you get your podcast. I've gotten really, really good feedback from it so far. So hope you go, you listen, you watch, you enjoy. There are no visuals. It's strictly a podcast. My next series, which is a rotating series, is called So You Want to Be a Content Creator, where I interview content creators around the hobby off of YouTube. Almost exclusively, this will be off YouTube content creators that a lot of people haven't even heard of, especially if you're on YouTube. And so every other week, I'm going to do, so you want to be a content creator, and so you want to be a dealer. And it's about their profession and the challenges of them and what they do and what they're good at. So I hope you listen. Sports Card Clubhouse is the channel. I appreciate you guys watching me today. Hope you have a great week.